Hello, everyone. Welcome to Abnormal Investigations. We're going to talk to you unless we get flooded out. I don't know if a lot of you know, but we are supposed to get historic rainfall. Hear the thunder? So if you lose me, guys, it will be because of the weather. They say we're going to get historical amounts of rain. So we're going to talk about that tonight if we're able to. There's another thing I was going to say, and it slipped my mind a little bit. I can't remember what I was going to say. I was going to talk about, we're going to cover the rain and the flooding and everything that's supposed to happen around me on Wide Open Adventures. I figured it goes better with that channel. So if you want to be updated on our area, the floods and everything that's supposed to hit us, go to Wide Open Adventures and subscribe over there. We'll be doing shorts, lives, and videos of the weather that's coming in. Should be pretty awesome, guys. Not that people's going to lose, property or anything like that, but just the fact that we're alive in these days to be able to see historical things going on. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Is that normal? What's happening? Is there something going on? Yeah, we're probably going to get in trouble for that one, but hell, we get in trouble a lot, so we might as well make it good, right? I'm going to go ahead and throw Jessie in here real quick. That way that I can get her on here.
Hello, everyone. Hey, Mike. How's it going?
It's going like it's going. It's going. Now I can get to the chat.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. Oh man, we got some troublemakers in there tonight. Not really, I'm joking. I do. We got a lot of things we're going to talk about tonight, and y'all will have to excuse my allergies. I'm clearing my throat a lot. The ragweed, pollen tree, all that's high. I suffer every year at this time, so bear with me if you will. And I'll scream let me scream in here since I see Jessie's got her ear things on. That should be really, really loud.
Yeah, thanks.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Well, who all do we got in chat tonight? We got Emmy Tongue in here. We got Randy Pettygraph moderating. We got Pam Singleton moderating. We got Jim Ellis in here tonight. Jim, hold that question for a second. We got Belinda Kruger, Emmy Tongue, Pam, and let's get back to Jim's question, and we'll throw it up on there really quick. As Sarah says, she rolls her, so we're going to throw it up there real quick. Okay, guys, I got a question for y'all. Do you guys have daylight saving time there? I hope I spelled that right. Yes, Jim, we do, unfortunately. I'm not a fan of it. I say leave the time alone. I don't see changing the time to me, but that's just me. Just little old me over here in my little corner, trying to stay on my side of the road. Sometimes I swerve a little bit and hit a red circle or something every now and then, but I try not to. I try to be good. I try not to bother anybody and, try not to poke the trolls too much, but don't worry about the trolls tonight, guys. They're out in this weather. They have to be out in it, but it's okay because we all know trolls and poop have something in common. They both float. So they'll be okay. Jessie, you look like you're just busting at the seams to say something.
No, I'm good. Hey, I enjoy the setting the clocks back. I like the extra hour of sleep, so I just don't
Really?
like it. I don't like when they switch it back. I like the extra hour sleep.
No, that's what I mean. I mean, leave it at the extra hour,
Oh, okay.
and then just leave it alone.
Right. Yeah,
That
I
way,
agree.
everybody, don't have to readjust and readjust and readjust and readjust.
Yeah.
Hello, Jim Ellis. Good to see you. Carolyn Rivera. Good to see you. If I missed anybody, be sure you can call them out. To Pink Pixie's in here tonight. Cat Mom's in here tonight. Good to see everybody. Hootie Love's in here tonight moderating. Thank you very much for showing up. Can I say her name, or is she hidden for a reason?
No, you could say her name.
Okay. Luana, thank you for showing up tonight. And if I wasn't supposed to say your name, that is Jesse's fault.
Yep.
Pam Singleton says her circles are white. Well, that might be a little easier to see than red. Red is the lowest color on the spectrum, so that is a good idea. I agree with you. Don't give him any ideas, though, or we'll all be colorblind. We got, I think I've named Raven Game Zone. Good to see you in here tonight, Raven Game Zone.
Good to see you. Yes, you were in my chat last night. Good to see you again.
That's cool. Seems like we got us a new member on both channels. That's always good.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. My computer went a little crazy for a second. I don't know if you can see it or not, Jesse. Can you see our private chat?
Oh.
I don't know if it even works for you or not.
Yep, got it.
And we got Randy Petticourt in here speaking to Lisa. How you doing, Randy? Are you flooding down there? He's probably getting about as much as I am in this. So be careful down there, Randy. Be what is it they call weather aware?
Maybe it'll wash away some of those cryptids around him.
But cryptids might want him to get out of the rain.
Mm.
Randy, you better be cock locked and ready to rock tonight, buddy.
Hello, Sarah Bear.
There's Sarah Bear in here tonight. Sarah, how much rain do we have hitting us right now? I can hear it pouring down on the house and the lightning. Have you? Well, I know she's seen radar. Is there anything bad around us, or are we good to go? Sarah hates bad weather, so I can always count on her to keep me updated on the weather. It takes her a little bit, guys. She's not the fastest, but she does do a good job. She's going to beat me for that one.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to say I hope everybody had a great Halloween and everybody had a safe Halloween and y'all got a lot of snacks, a lot of good food. Yes, Michelle McGuire, I do have a boat. I am your typical country boy. I got a boat, 30-06 and a 4-wheel drive, so we should be okay. How was your Halloween, Jesse? How did that go for you?
My Halloween was quite uneventful, actually. Didn't do much other than moderate the show.
Well, at least you was lucky enough to get to spend it with us for a few hours, so I'm sure that made your Halloween a lot better.
Yes.
And we want to thank everybody that did choose to spend Halloween with us the other night. We appreciate that, and it was good seeing everybody in the chat. Even though I'm not real sure that was a good idea, it definitely was fun. It was different. That's the first time I've ever had my car dropped off at point B and we was dropped off at point A. I don't know that that's a smart thing to do. What do you think, Jesse? Is that something we should continue to do, or?
I know I personally wouldn't ever want to do that. So, I have to say that was pretty ballsy of you.
It was scary. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
A lot of people think that when we go out there that we don't get scared, and that's not true. That's not true at all. We do get scared, and there is times that I regret decisions, and you have a little more guts in the daylight when you plan these things.
Yeah.
And you don't count on the darkness. Thank you very much for that, Pam. We don't count on the darkness. And during the day it can be so peaceful, and then when the sun falls, it's like it gets worse, you know.
Right.
And Carolyn doesn't think we should do that either.
Yeah.
Michelle says we were lucky that we survived it.
Mm.
Thank you, Pam. Pam said it was one of the best Halloweens she's had in a long time. Thank you, Pam, for that. Raven, we appreciate that very much. That means a lot to us here. Is Hunter is well, I'm going to say a little something about Hunter. It's actually in my intro notes, so we are going to get to that in just a second. Randy, thank you for that very much. God bless you for that.
Thank you.
That means a lot to us. Excuse me. Um, Mike, have you rewatched the footage? Psychic Interconnections is asking a question, and I'm just going to be straight honest with you. I couldn't lie to you because you'd know, wouldn't you? Now, I'm going to tell you, I actually very rarely go back and rewatch footage. Um, I'll explain why. Number one, I don't like to watch myself on film. Uh, that's just me. Number two, with everything that I have to do as far as keeping up with current events, putting out shorts for two channels, and putting out content, editing, setting up interviews, trying to get into places to do boots on the ground. I'm working on a few places right now that I'm actually trying to get into to go do some I guess it would be boots on the ground, some investigations. So by the time you're doing everything and scheduling everything and then dealing with the emails of people that have questions and trying to get back to them, and thank God for Mike. We have a guy that does a lot of work for us that does not have to do it, and we appreciate him so much. I mean, there's just so much to do that really I don't have a chance. Now, if somebody comes to me and they say, "Hey, Mike, there was something really big happened,"
Pam, that
like,
was so nice. Thank you.
yes, thank you, Pam, for that. God bless you for that. I will go back, but most of the time, if I see anything, honestly, it's going to be because you guys seen it and told me about it or sent me a clip or one of the moderators caught it. So that's mostly how it goes. Maybe someday when I'm old, I might just have like an abnormal night, pop me some popcorn, start from the first, and then because I remember the first days how it was like starting the channel. It was sitting there at an old computer desk with the TV behind me and Hunter whispering in my ear, and I would go back to that any day. um, I missed Halloween with Hunter again. Uh, you know, but Hunter will be home. Things God is working, and whenever God works, it's His time, not our time. Uh, I want him here right now, but I know that when God delivers him here, it's going to be the perfect time, because when he comes home, he's going to get to see a lot. His eyes will be open. We'll just say that. And when you have opened eyes, God is not the God of confusion. He is the God of a sound mind. And I believe that He is showing Hunter things. And this is Hunter's road right now. And I believe that there is reason for Hunter to take this road right now. And Hunter will be home. He'll be home soon. I've had a lot of people send me some emails. Sunshine, thank you so very much for that. God bless you. Um, a lot of people are that Hunter's birthday is coming up November 6th. A
Hmm.
lot of people's been emailing me. Y'all have not forget, man. That really touched my heart that everybody remembered. And they've asked, how can we send uh, Hunter a a gift? Let me throw this up real quick right now. That's going to catch my eye.
Hmm.
And Hunter, wanting a gift or to send Hunter a gift. What I have done is I'm going to put the address on both channels for everybody. The address is actually in the description of our videos. I try to get it in most of those. Um, Let me put the address in here real quick so everybody can have that. And I'll let you talk, Jesse, while I do that. If you have anything you want to say, and then Raven, I'll get right to you.
Um, yeah, thanks for putting me on that spot.
You're
But
welcome.
Um, see part of Army Homes. Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna talk about that. We could talk about that Raven Game Zone.
And there is the address. So if anybody catches this at a later time, the address is right there. Uh, so that's how you would send Hunter a gift if you would like to send him a gift for his birthday for November 6th or a Christmas gift like y'all did last year. He's got a lot of stuff to open, man. He's going to be one happy boy. Raven, let's get to you. You said that you are skeptical about a couple of seconds at 129.30 on the live. Unfortunately, I cannot pull the live up right now unless Jesse has looked. Do you have
Yeah,
any? Okay.
I believe Raven is talking about the antler reflection,
Uh-huh.
um, which that's the one that we had reviewed,
Right.
and we could see prior to that your hand in the hat, so it was the reflection from the dome light in the truck. So that was not something that was abnormal. It was just a
Right.
reflection.
And I think, let me see.
Yeah, nope.
Now, um, Raven, and I've had a lot of trolls, and I'm not calling you a troll, but I've had a lot of trolls, try to cause us trouble in the past. And I don't know if you watched it, but I'll tell you, there was 3 instances that I think people actually have missed. The number one thing um, was whenever it first happened. If you will notice on a lot of my investigations, whenever I go out, I shut off the interior lights of the vehicle. That way, when the doors are opened, you don't have a light come on. Okay. That is common practice in law enforcement or security, is to not have that dome light come on. And if you do, it's a red light. It is not a white light. Jesse, been prior military, understands red light does not reflect, and it is not as bright or noticeable by the human eye.
Right.
That's why red lights are important to use. Whenever I got into the vehicle, of course, we use that vehicle for a lot of our investigations. The dome lights were on because we have a lot of expensive equipment that I place in the backpack at certain ways so that it doesn't fall or bust if we're driving over potholes or trying to, drive fast or whatever. That stuff's not cheap. So whenever I was putting it all into the backpack, I had the dome lights on and I had my headlamp on. So while I'm putting everything in, I'm not paying attention because I'm not used to those being on. I'm just putting the stuff in there. We was a little excited from the night. I'm not going to lie. It was pretty scary.
Yeah, it
And
was.
so we had an adrenaline rush, I'm not afraid to say. And while I was putting the stuff up, my hat hit the top of the door and my hat fell off. Well, when my hat fell, it had the light on the front of it, which made it front heavy. So it fell forward and flipped, and the light was in my face.
Mm-hmm.
So I had light in my face. So whenever I pick it up and I'm blinded from the light in my face, and I'm moving the stuff out of the back seat because during the week, Logan, my mom, and I, we use the vehicle to go grocery shopping and stuff. Things get moved around in it. I'm grabbing things to throw back to the back, and I see a reflection in Sarah's window. Now, you all are seeing live things just like I am. I'm not able to review it. I'm not able to go back and say, what is that? My first thing is the safety of my family and whoever is with me. So whenever I seen that, my first thing was to go to a safe place. It was not to stay there and wait and see, okay, was that a reflection or is it going to knock the window out and pull Sarah out of it? So I jumped in the vehicle, and as we're driving, if you all watched past that, you will see that I even start saying,
Well,
who do you love? So something about repeating. But as I'm driving, you will notice that I even start questioning, was it a reflection? Because I hear
right.
Sarah saying it was a horn. And I'm like, well, I just grabbed it out of the seat from the prior one at the circle and threw it in the back. So now I'm thinking, okay, the lights were on. I knew that when I was putting my stuff up, I could see the backpack and the window across from me. So I was like, maybe it was a reflection. So immediately I start asking. There was a Jenny girl in there that was already reviewing it. I started asking my moderators, could you please review it? Randy and Jesse reviewed it. And what a lot of you do not know is we have chat that we talk with while we're out there. That way I can stay in contact with my moderators because I rely on their ears and eyes a lot. In our meetings, I tell them, y'all need to watch for things because I have equipment on me, I've got lights on me, and a lot of times my field of view is not as far as your all's field of view. I get night blindness out there from the lights, and a lot of times it's hard for me to see as far and as clear as what you all are seeing. You all are in front of the lights, I'm behind the lights. I'm getting all the glare, and you all are in front of the lights. So, what I done is yes, Randy, that is correct. So
Mhm.
what I done is I asked them to review it. After they reviewed it, and I got home that night, we always do a meeting after the boots on the ground, and we all spoke about it. We looked at it, reviewed it, came to the conclusion that it was a reflection. In order
Oh.
not to cause confusion, we placed a post in the Facebook Abnormal Investigations, telling everybody not to be alerted that it was a reflection. We posted the same thing underneath the community tab on the YouTube channel for those of you who are not subscribed or do not have Facebook, so you would have that message. And I took it a step further. The night before the drop that I did the night after of the video drop, I even said at the first of that to let everybody know what was going on.
Mhm.
Walter, I ain't even going to try that. Wants to know why I have them in there. I actually have them in there for several reasons, but those are the ones that I found at the circle with Sarah on one of our previous investigations. That it was up on a stick, and everybody told me not to take it, so I took it and just threw it in the vehicle. But other reasons I would have antlers in my car is I'm a deer hunter, so I have antlers in my car a lot. You know, you rattle deer in. That's, I mean, if you're a hunter, you know. And I mean, I've got other things in there. You probably wonder too. Why do you got skunk urine in there? And why do you have vanilla extract mixed in water in a spray bottle? I mean, it's what you do to cover your scent when you deer hunt, and then you rattle them in. So it's not uncommon for, I mean, shell casings to be laying there or whatever. But I never saw a hairy hand. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
A lot of people said they did. I did not see a hairy hand. Um,
I saw that you could see the tips of your hand holding the antler. Um, it could have been maybe from the way the lighting was, or reflection from the outside also. It did look kind of odd, but it did look, you could tell it was your hand or a hand.
and I was wearing a heavy flannel, which is loose
Right.
around my hand too, because it was a little cool out that night.
Yeah. But I mean, the antler was the exact same amount of.
Right.
Wow. I need sleep.
I mean, I could go open the back of my vehicle, and I'll tell you something I've got back there that a lot of people would wonder is I have a Master Chief Halloween mask. Why do I have it back there? Because Hunter loved Master Chief, and he kept that in the vehicle. I have not removed anything from the vehicle where he left it because he called that his Durango.
Mhm.
So if you're wondering why there are certain things in there, I mean, he's got his blanket in there that he kept when he took naps, and that stuff ain't coming out of there, and there ain't nobody going to take it out of there. Um, it gets frustrating from the standpoint of an investigator to go out boots on the ground, to spend the money, to plan the outing, to take the time out to do it, to bring the equipment, to be able to air it live, and then people think that, what do you got an antler in there for? I think that's why we lose a lot of our good investigators, is because they get tired of it. I mean, if I wanted to, and I could make this a lot easier on myself, I talked to Jesse about this, and Jesse told me not to do it. And I'll take a vote from you guys tonight, but you can ask Jesse. I very seriously considered filming my investigations and then going back, editing them, and then dropping them as a release, and you all would not see it as it happened.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of investigators have started doing that
Yeah.
because it's frustrating. Um, I really don't know what else to say about that. I mean, I believe that we were as transparent as we could be.
And honestly, I could almost say, for anybody that does doubt it, maybe you and Sarah try to recreate that to show that it was an actual reflection.
Right. I mean, that's what I seen. And, there's people that argue with me still and they say, no, it was not a reflection.
Hmm.
I noticed the screen froze. I did notice that. Who do you love? I
Oh,
noticed the screen stopped moving. Um, no, what happened is where Sarah was sitting, I have a gap between my two front seats. They're like bucket seats. Sarah, if you'll remember, she turned sideways in the seat and was talking to you guys. So with Sarah being sideways, there was a pathway to her window. We looked at all that because we were trying to figure it out ourselves. If Sarah would have been sitting correctly in the seat, there wouldn't have been a reflection. But the way Sarah was positioned in the seat, because she was facing me, because I was putting the stuff up and me and her were conversating while she was talking to you guys. And if she would have been turned the other way, then there wouldn't have probably even have been a reflection in that window. It couldn't have been because it would have been blocked.
it's Sarah's
But
fault.
it's Sarah's fault, and we're going to blame her. I mean, it's always her fault. If anything, I'll if y'all would like her email, y'all can blow y'all can blow her up about it instead of me. Hey, I'm all about it. Here's the cat. The cat's ready to go. She says it's your fault, Sarah.
Yeah, cat agrees.
That cat has drove me crazy for a week. She's drove me to drinking Pepsi. Can you believe that?
Told you how to take care of it.
You know, yes, Sarah, it is your fault. So, I've thought about guys, and a number one, if you want me to stay live, or a number two, if you want me just to go do it, edit it, and drop it. I can drop it as a premiere. Um, that's honestly where I almost went with it last night. I mean, we walked a long ways in the dark, in the cold. And Psychic, no, I didn't feel like he was harping on it at all because there was a lot of people that said that they did see a hand. I'm just telling you what I saw, what my moderators saw, and what we agreed on. Psychic, we enjoy having you so much. Um, I don't want to mislead anybody. Jesse will be the first to tell you whenever we review photos or recordings that are sent in. I don't see half of the shit that they see,
Yeah.
and I'll say I'm not going to use that because I don't see it. But Jesse or Brooks or Sarah or somebody would say, Mike, it's right here in front of you. And I'm like, I don't see it. And Sarah's like, well, let me outline it for you the best I can. And they'll send it to me. And I'm like, some of them I will see when you do that. But I'll be honest, some of them I don't. And there's a lot of photographs that I don't share. And there's a lot of audio that I don't share. And Jesse has even had some audio that her and other moderators have given me thumbs up on to use that I won't use because I don't feel like I'm hearing anything.
Hmm.
I'm very particular.
I've
Uh,
sent you images before too that you're like, yeah, I don't see anything.
yeah, I just don't feel like that's right. Tim,
Hmm.
thank you so very much for that. God bless you for that. I'm not going to use it if I don't feel like, there's something there. And I'm not saying there ain't nothing there. I'm just saying I don't see it. And maybe I'll start putting a lot more of that out there for you guys, and maybe you guys will see it. But I'm not going to say that I see something. And I even told Jesse, and a lot of you will notice when I'm on a live, I don't stand there and say, "Oh my God, that's a Bigfoot. It's got to be 12 foot tall. I just saw him pull that prawn out of that tree." I don't do that. I will tell you guys there is eye shine. How high up the eye shine I believe it to be. But I will never tell you most of the time. There is times I have, but I will never tell you most of the time that's a Bigfoot, definitely. I'll say I think it's a Bigfoot. I think it's a werewolf. Because unless you're up there on it and you're shaking its hands, you really don't know. Now, my
Right.
sister, not my sister, my daughter, Kaylee, she did have an encounter where we was on a what we called a daylight in, dark out, where she saw it actually step from behind the tree and look at her, which is what ended her boots on the ground. She decided, no, this ain't for me. But she saw it plain. I mean, she saw it plainly. And whenever you have an encounter to where something steps out like, is it scary? Hell yeah, it's scary. That night, what did I do? Kaylee ran from it. I went toward it. Why did I go toward it? Because my daughter was there.
Mm-hmm.
Because all my life, since I was 18 years old, I've worked in security and with law enforcement. And I am trained that you protect. You are the protector. You don't think about your safety. And people say, are you ever scared? You know, I'll tell you something. Whenever I would go to work and I put my uniform on, and this started from a very young age, I was afraid because I love my family and I knew there was a chance that you're not coming home. That's just it. You're not brave. You're not a hero. You're not doing something that nobody else does. It was your choice to wear that badge. Nobody made you. I done it because I like to help people. Whenever you leave, you never know what you're going to encounter that day. And I was scared. I was afraid. There was times I was afraid, but you know what? When that call comes across the radio and it's time to go to work, that there's a man with a gun or a man beating his wife or, shots fired or whatever, car wreck, your scaredness goes right out the window. Your training takes over.
Yep.
At that point, you go and take care of what you have to take care of. After you do what you've done, sometimes you throw up. Sometimes you cry. Sometimes you're just sicker than a dog. Do you let the public see it? No, you try not to let the public see that. Officers are trained to take up for each other, get them out of the sight, get them out of the media site, get them in the vehicles. You're trained to not show emotion because the public has to see you as somebody that is in control at all times. You have to be in control of the situation at all times. Failure to be in control of the situation costs people their lives. I lost people under me, and I ain't proud to say that. Good friends under me. And it wasn't always in the line of duty. It was some had marital issues that took their own lives. It was some that had heart attacks. Some, old age, whatever it be. They were my friends, my family. I spent 12, 14 hours a day with them. And we ate Thanksgiving dinner together. We ate Christmas dinner together. We ate New Year's dinner together. Whenever everybody was home with their families having their holidays, that was my cue that I was working overtime. I mean, that's just how it went.
Yeah.
But it's not because somebody made me. I chose it. And that's what I chose to do with my life. That was my career. That's what I enjoyed doing. Um, Halloween night, I thought for the most part, was pretty quiet. Uh, there was sounds. We had some audio out in the woods. We heard some limbs break. We heard some what I thought was walking. Thought I heard some breathing. There was something that did, I think, go across the road, but it was nothing that was identifiable. Um, you know, it was really for the position we was in, the vulnerability that we was in without a vehicle close. It was really more mild than what I thought it would be. Um, I thought the cryptids would take full advantage of it, and that we would have uh, a close encounter, if you will, a closer encounter. And that was actually the goal. And I talked to Jesse about that. That was my goal, was to have a close encounter. Um, but I will go ahead.
I was gonna say you did catch a lot of very creepy whispers and sounds that night, though.
And I get frustrated because I don't hear those. So it's not when I'm out there, I'm not like, it's hard to explain. Now I'm kind of getting paranoid because I'm like, okay, the moderators are hearing these voices, and then I start thinking in my head, even though I'm not hearing them, is there something around me talking to me? And it starts working on you.
Yeah, it's probably a good thing you're not hearing some of the stuff that they're saying.
I mean, Michelle McGuire says she heard the heavy breathing. Raven Game says I heard some whispering that night too, early on and toward the end. Um, Attraction Power. Also, Attraction Power, I'd like to say thank you for being a member. Pray for me and Lisa all. Sure. Everybody pray for Attraction Power. I might have missed why. I'm sorry if I did. But keep her in your prayers for sure. And Lisa. Uh, Carolyn says those voices are very creepy. And Carolyn, thank you for being a member. We appreciate that. Um, I was hoping for a bigger encounter. Um, you start questioning yourself after a while. You start wondering, should I have went to that spot, or should I have went to the prior hot spots that we had been investigating? Would they have been hotter that night? Did I maybe move away from it, from what would have been? It's hard telling. You never know where they're going to be. Um, Pam heard the heavy breathing. Yeah, they said there was a lot of bad things said. I don't repeat what they said. I try not to give them place, but I let people read it. I kind of like Jesse on that. I don't give them place. Words have power. Sarah Meiker doing an awesome job to keep us informed. Thank you, Margie Burke. We appreciate that, and God bless you for that. Um, Attraction Power said, "Her Devil's Lit Bridge on fire. We got to be high alert this election." Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but we don't talk politics. We try to stay away from that because that just causes everybody to get mad. Sarah says there was some growls. A scream light sounds like stomping. Yes. Yeah, Randy. Thank you, Margie, for that. Sarah says thank you, Margie. Jesse, your cat was purring, I guess.
Yeah, she was purring into the mic.
Um, so it just wasn't what I thought we was going to find that night. And I'm going to go ahead. I didn't get through my entrance. My entry stuff is still right here. We haven't even started the show yet, guys. um, we got caught up on some stuff, and I figured it was going to happen. I told Jesse that would probably be brought up.
Mm-hmm.
What was that? We have a lot of cool things planned, and I haven't even told Jesse about this. I've been working on some things behind the scenes. There is a mental hospital that part of it was closed down by us. It has the graveyard and everything. I'm not interested in going to the graveyard. I don't care to bother those people.
Mm-hmm.
I do, however, want to go through the old prison. I've been in contact with them. We're trying to work something out. This place is everything out of a horror movie. They had the electroshock, the old metal wheelchairs, the metal beds they tied them down to, the doors with the little glass, everything that. So we're working on that. I would hope to be able to take you all in there. I think that would be neat. Sarah, I know, is excited about it. She likes the antique stuff that's still there. The old stuff is supposed to still be in there. I know some people that have worked there. If we can work everything out, I would like to have them on before we go and discuss some of the things that happened in there. There's some really bad things happened in there. This was a prison for the criminally insane, and it was also a regular prison. It has served two functions, and I believe it was even a prison for juveniles at one point in time. It's just a creepy looking place. That's all I can tell you. Just picture. I'm trying to even think of the movie. Have y'all ever watched the movie? I think it was where all these. I can't remember the name, but they all go to this asylum and they're all locked in overnight with a doctor, and they have all the weird stuff starts happening, and it's actually an asylum. It kind of reminds me of that place. Scarlet, I don't. They don't have anything. It would be labeled dog man. I hope you're being serious. They do have bear spray, and I would assume that anything along those lines would affect them and their nasal cavities the same way that it would anything else.
Yeah, you'd think.
You know, I would think it would be the same. I know that the spray that we carried whenever I worked, you had to be CLEAT certified to be able to buy it. Citizens couldn't get it, but I know that it worked really good on dogs because I had a lady sick her dog on me and I had to spray it. But it was either that or kill the dog. So I didn't want to kill the dog. I love animals. Um, I actually went to the pound the other day. We went and looked at dogs. I would like to bring them all home if I could. Um, you're welcome, Scarlett. You scared Jody's in here tonight. Good to see you. Um, but we're working on that. Um, what else did I have to say? I think that's. Oh, a lot of y'all have been asking me and saying you cannot find the store for the merchandise. It's pinned at the top of this chat. I put it in with the links, so you should be able to find it there. We got quite a few things in there. I'm not the best designer. I'll be the first to tell you all that.
I
Uh,
second that.
yeah, so hopefully Jesse and Rhonda. I don't know if she'll help. We have a lady that helps behind the scenes.
Who?
She might help. Then Sarah helps. We got. I don't think people know how many people we have behind the scenes. I mean, there's a lot goes into this because if we're not on here, we're working on it. I mean, we're designing or we're researching, and people sending us stuff. We got people that help us, and thank God we got people that help us because I get lost.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, my cat's meowing. She meows all the time.
Yeah, Sarah.
What's Sarah say?
Sarah?
Oh, yeah, Sarah's always saying something.
Mhm.
But um, we have a lot of people that help. Sarah helps a little, and now Sarah does a lot for her. I can't help but pick on her. Tonight, guys, Jesse made the recommendation, I guess, that instead of doing our stories and stuff before we get into the show, we will offer you guys the chance to come in and talk about your encounter. That way, you don't have to listen to me talk all night because, as you can see, Jesse doesn't talk much, and she does sign
Yeah.
language a lot. You
Yeah.
just have to read her eyes. Um, but
I
yeah,
don't
if
have a
anybody,
poker face.
I don't need to. But I'm kind of hard to tell. Everybody said because I'm always laughing and joking. So, uh, if anybody in the chat right now has an encounter that they would like to come on tonight and tell us and talk about and discuss it, put in big bold letters. I have an encounter, and hopefully I'll see it or Jesse will see it. One of the moderators will, and we'll get the link out to you. I like doing the open mics. So far, we've had was it Pink Pixie came on and
Mhm.
Randy have been
Yep.
our the two that's came on with.
And um, there were two others that we had come on.
I can't remember who they were. Sarah, would you like to come on and tell one of your stories? I can send you the link. But yeah, if anybody has an encounter you would like to share, I'll give you a few more minutes, and then we'll hop into the show. Another thing I guess we need to tell them, Jesse, is we did receive a lot of material tonight for our
Yes.
next sit down.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, interesting stuff.
again, the photos I didn't see a whole lot. Um, I was struggling with the photos. I do struggle with the photos. Sarah said she may have to run. She'll be going to the storm shelter, probably is what she means. Um, we got some pretty disturbing vocals.
Yeah.
I think were probably worse than any we've had. You think so?
Mm, I don't know if they would be necessarily worse. I think that a lot of the vocals are getting more and more aggressive, especially compared to the ones that, I mean, he hasn't sent anything from the Halloween night, but there were a couple in the Halloween night that were pretty bad.
What were these that came in tonight? The 28th, would that be right?
Yes.
So what we got today would have been the 28th, which
Hmm.
well, man, if we mix the 28th in with Halloween, we'll have a huge show. There's
Hmm.
probably I think we should do that. We'll probably just mix them in together. I'll just separate them by date so everybody will know what we're talking about. Uh,
Yeah.
but we got some photos that were sent in from the 28th. Uh, we briefly went over them. Did you see anything, Jesse, that
I
stuck
couldn't
out?
I couldn't see a whole lot that's really stuck out. But again, like I said, if with the timestamps and such too, if I can even go back and see what was happening right before or
Yeah,
after, because it's really hard to tell sometimes with photo images if or what it is and what you're looking at. Whereas if you actually have the video footage to kind of analyze back and forth and see, you can actually see a little bit better. So I'd like to go back and actually look at those too. Same thing with the voice and the sounds that were captured.
right. Uh, if anybody knows how to get a hold of Wendy Dagan, they're saying that she's the winner of the duck. So if anybody knows how to get a hold of her, so I can get her information. If we don't get a hold of her, then we will move to the next person. But hopefully we can get a hold of Wendy. Uh, so if anybody knows her and can reach out to her, you see her in other chats, uh, just tell her that we're trying to get a hold of her, please. Um, yeah, I didn't see much in the photos. Now, some of the audios that we listened to today, one in particular, it almost sounded, and this is eerie. This is kind of eerie to me. It sounded like whatever was down there was defending either you or Sarah from me. Um, I have an idea that I was probably joking with one of you guys. Hear that thunder?
Mm-hmm.
That I was probably joking with one of you guys, and it took it seriously. Is that how you took that?
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I'd be interested to find out or to go back and actually listen to what was happening right before.
Because it pretty much told me to leave you alone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or whoever I was ragging
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
It should pass us here in just a second, guys. So from the way the radar looks right now, you can see that's what we're in right now. I don't know if y'all can see that.
Yep.
Pretty big squall line coming over us. Yeah, I think it was getting on to me. I think it was saying, "You be nice to those girls." Margie Burke. Um, as far as I know, Brooks is doing well. I still talk to her. Again, she's taking care of personal things, and you know, people's businesses are business, but I don't pry. I respect people's personal space. I understand things come up. I've got things going on right now that you know pretty rough today, but you know, hopefully she'll get everything ironed out and took care of. And but as but as far as I know, she's still ornery as her old self and trying to get things took care of. Uh, I think that they're getting an attachment. I don't know if attachment's the right word. I think maybe this. I think maybe they're getting attached to possibly us and maybe even the moderators to an extent.
I think they're getting used to you guys being down there. That's for sure.
And I don't know yet if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm still on the fence about that. To me, I kind of feel like the longer I go there, the longer they know me, the easier it's going to be for them to fool me.
Imprinting. Yeah, Sarah.
It's like they're going to get to know me and they're
Hmm.
going to know what to expect. And it makes me wonder, should I move on to another location for a while uh, and then come back and see if they're still there?
It's not a bad theory. Try it.
I think we may have to do that.
Hmm.
Sarah, get me some video of what's going on right now, if you don't mind, for the other channel. See, we're always doing something for both channels. Um, I don't know. It's an eerie feeling. It really is. It's sometimes I go down there and I'm not afraid, and sometimes I go down there and I am afraid. Uh, I'm very open with my moderators. I will tell them if I'm uncomfortable at a place. Um, Sometimes I feel like when I go to a place, it's like I'm not even supposed to be there. And then sometimes whenever I go to a place, I feel like I could just pull a hammock out and camp all night.
Mm.
Yeah, Raven, and you know,
Oop. Can tell the storms are getting bad. You're cutting out.
can you still hear me now?
I can hear you now.
They should pass. Sarah, we should be on the. They should be on the other side of us here pretty soon, right? From what I was seeing. And again, guys, we're supposed to get historical rains. Rains, I said, like we have never had. So if you would like to follow that and see the floods and stuff, you can go over to our Wide Open Adventures channel. We'll be covering it over there. I think y'all will really enjoy it. We're in a huge drought, and for us to flood so bad, it would have to be a lot of water coming. And they're saying it's going to be historic, which is pretty scary because we got a lot of dams around us. You know, you always worry about dams failing and stuff like that. I'm glad she brought that up. um, yeah, whenever we was walking, all of a sudden I got a really sharp pain in my head, uh, and I got sick to my stomach and I got weak. And then Sarah said that happened to her also. So I
Which
don't,
is
I
why
don't
I
know.
gave you those meters so that you could actually test for that if something like that happened. And you didn't even have that with you, did you?
I did.
Oh, you did. You didn't use it.
Yeah, it was on me. It was on. It's got an
Oh.
alarm. You can set an alarm on it,
Oh, okay. And it
and
didn't.
it never went above normal.
Huh.
Never did. But I'm curious to some. Let me shut the window real quick. The rain's coming in. Be right back. Hold that
Hmm.
thought.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. Is that it could have been infrasound instead of necessarily like a radiation. I just wonder because a lot of times I've heard that radiation is a secondary or it kind of goes hand in hand with a lot of this stuff. Even on paranormal or spirit type investigations, they've been discovering that kind of thing too. But infrasound.
Sarah actually wondered that, Sherry Ray, if that could have happened. Um,
Mhm.
I'm wondering if I shouldn't maybe start running. That's all I need is more equipment on me. A an EVP on me. I don't know if that would make a difference. Maybe would an EVP and a Geiger counter go together?
Yeah, I mean, they're testing for two different things. One is for the electric magnetic pulse, and then the other one is for the radiation levels.
Um, Nick, I believe it is normal to have an EVP spike, uh, like she said, and also a the Geiger counter, to go off for radiation. But also, I've heard sometimes that you won't have any of those, which makes you wonder when you hear certain things, are you dealing with the out of body and the in body? Do the
Mhm.
ones that are in the physical body, do they exert an EVP, or do they cause, radiation? Or is it the ones that are out of the body that are causing the EVP or the radiation? We don't know. I mean, if I was guessing, I would say you're probably, if you're getting those kind of spikes, that you're probably dealing with something that is not flesh and blood. That would be my theory.
Well, and I sometimes wonder too, with some of these things moving back and forth between, I don't know what you would consider them, dimensions or portals or planes of existence, whatever you would want to call it, if there is not a radiation burst due to that and that's carried over um, with them moving back and forth. I don't, that's another theory that I've had for a while.
I didn't think about that, but that makes sense. If they're, I mean, we could take it a step further, and we could say that these star things that we're seeing coming down to Earth that are going back up, who's to say that also one of those star things isn't a being,
Hmm.
and that it's not coming down, interacting with them, and then leaving a radiation or an EVP on them also.
Right. Well, and many people have stated that when they've had UFO type, and I'm using that as a general because they're unidentified, that there's a lot of radiation that is residual left over from where they have been seen and have left impressions.
Right.
So,
And if you start getting high radiation numbers, don't stick around. Get out of there. It's not worth
hmm
it. You know,
hmm
EVPs, you can deal with that, but radiation, you know,
well, EVPs are, you mean the EMPs, the electric magnetic pulses? You're frozen again. You
can
there?
you?
Yeah, the electric magnetic pulses can actually cause headaches and um, feelings of paranoia too if they're too high and they last for too long.
So Walter has a question. Mike, because I do not know anything about Hunter, can you possibly share some info on him? No offense intended, just wondering, Walter. I made a video that I would recommend to go watch. It's called What Happened to Us. I think it's a pretty good video. As far as any updates, I still, I said it was lies in the beginning. It still lies to this day. The truth is coming out. Um, they had a saying when I was in trouble that, oh, go look, go watch, go watch. I'm telling y'all right now, if you go watch, you're going to see who's bad. And they're not going to be laughing and joking for long. because it's not a funny thing. There's none of this is funny. And I think their laughter is gonna end because there is somebody that's gonna be, in my opinion, in a whole lot of trouble. And it's just when it's all turned over to the appropriate people to do the right thing. Go ahead, Jesse. I see
I was
you're
just
wanting
gonna
to
say,
say.
no, I was just gonna say, yeah, Walter, go check out that video. And moving on.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I can't say a whole lot about it. I will say this: Hunter will be home.
Hmm.
I will say that because my God and my Father tells me that my tongue has the power of life and death, and that whatever I speak has power. And I've never stopped saying that. Hunter is coming home, and I do believe it's going to be very, very soon. For all of you that want to be updated on Hunter and what's going to happen and be the first to know, Wide Open Adventures. That's where it will first be broke when it happens. That's all I can say. It will all be dropped at Wide Open Adventures. That's where it'll happen. Um, Peter Pantalone wants to know, is Brooke still part of the team? You know, I've had a lot of people asking a lot of questions about Brooks, and due to the safety and security reasons of my team and stuff, I just don't like giving out personal information on them. I believe that if she wanted people to know, she would have came out and said. So I'm not going to come out and say anything. She asked me just to let everybody know she's taking care of personal business, and that whenever she is done, then we'll see what happens.
Hmm.
Thank you, Walter. I appreciate that. Uh, Pam, yeah. Uh, so nobody has any encounters they want to come on before I move on, right? Before we jump into our topics we're going to talk about.
I just wanted to address Roman said have heard accounts of Bigfoot hanging around nuclear facilities. Yeah, not just Bigfoot, but dogmen also, UFOs. A lot of them have been hanging around nuclear facilities. Videos, and they've been told to be quiet, not talk about it.
Do you think there's a possibility that the reason they hang around them is not because they're interested in our technology or anything? Because I believe that they're fallen angels that gave us that technology. Do you believe that maybe they're hanging around them because they may have some ill will?
I think that they are. I don't know about ill will. I mean, these things have been able to pass through security gates without even being caught or detected at times. I think that they may be harnessing or absorbing radiation for some reason. That's just my thought. Otherwise, why else would you, I mean, admit emit radiation levels in areas and also be hanging around nuclear power plants?
I got something that's going to ruin a lot of people's. Of course, I think they're fallen angels, and I think that Hollywood indoctrinates a lot of that stuff into their movies, right? So, if you are a Superman fan, you might want to step away. I was listening to a thing the other day, and they were talking about. They were having discussions, and they were talking about Superman, and they believe that Superman. Let's just put it like this: he gets his power from the light of the sun. Who was the light bearer? Whenever he flies, he looks a little bit like that lady standing in the harbor. The one arm up, with the fist.
Hmm.
The S on his suit,
But the S stood for his name.
was it his name or was it
Nope.
Superman or was it in the shape of the dragon?
Nope. The S was for his name. which was I don't know it offhand. Can't remember. But the S,
Well,
no, it was not for Superman. Nope, no, his home name from where he actually came from.
well, I have another question for you then. How come the only thing that hurt him was kryptonite and it was green as the Bible describes God's throne as emerald green? That was his only weakness. I was just listening to
There's so many things that could be construed in different ways depending on what you're looking at and
I mean, he shot fire out of his eyes, right?
yes, he did.
I just thought it was kind of neat listening to it. Kind of. I'm a Superman fan. I was from when I was little. I remember when Lois Lane died, and he flew around the the Earth fast as he could in reverse time and saved her. I remember
Well,
those.
I'll always be a Marvels fan. I'm all about Captain America, so
Yeah, he's a pansy, but that's okay.
your
Um,
opinion.
a lot of people wanted me to recap some investigations. So, did you have any questions from any that you want to bring up yet, or any questions you have, or anything?
I was going back and I was listening to all of the prior stories you were telling about Granny's house and such. And one of the things that um, did stick out to me that I was wondering about. So you had said that everything kind of started after your uncle returned back from Vietnam. What did he do over there and how long was he over there for?
You're talking about where they went and brought
Yeah,
this back from?
right. So before they brought it back, you said that this was your uncle, right?
Uh huh.
Okay. So he had come back from Vietnam or he
Oh,
had
okay. No, yeah, Vietnam didn't have anything to do with what came. What happened was whenever he had came back from Vietnam,
mhm.
he was dating who is now my aunt,
Mhm.
and he would take her to this location, and there was other couples that would go there with them, and they would go there to get scared. And I guess some things would happen, but not real crazy happen, but enough that the girls would get scared and scoot over by the guys, right? So they would go there for that reason. And on one particular night, they were sitting down there doing the same thing that they always done. And out in the field, there was two bright white lights appeared, right? Like look like almost like headlights, he said. Two bright white lights. This is a like a wheat field, right? It's got
Mhm.
really tall grass, and they had pulled off like on the side of it in the fence row of the trees, right?
Mhm.
So while they're sitting there and doing their thing, whatever they're doing, talking, all the couples, these two white things appear. Now, these two white things are not like headlights. They're not projecting a light at you. They're just two white lights. At first, they thought that it was a vehicle, but then they noticed that the grass in front of the lights started falling down as it was coming towards their car,
Mhm.
kind of like hovering toward the car, and the grass was falling down. They had never seen that before, so it scared them. So what they did is they started their cars to get ready to leave, and all of a sudden, on top of the car, something runs off the top, down the front glass, off the front of the hood, and out into the trees. So at
Mhm.
that point, it's time to get out of there, right? So they all leave, and instead of him going into town or anywhere else, he went straight to my granny's house. Now, as the crow flies, and I think that's important in a lot of these, is not to take into account highways and stuff because we know that. I mean, I'm sure they use highways, but not like we do. But as the crow flies, you're looking at, and I'll get with you on this on a map where we can get more precise. But you're looking at probably just a guesstimation from there across the water and to my granny's house. You're probably looking at 10, 12 miles. Okay. So they went home, and whenever they get home, he pulls up into my granny's yard. Now, my granny's, I'm going to try to give y'all kind of a picture of what her house looked like. Whenever you would pull into her house off of the old country road, there was a circle drive that circled completely around. In the middle of her circle drive, and I don't know then if they had the yard light, they probably did not. But there was, in the middle was a lot of grass. On the far end was what we called the hog pastures where Grandpa kept the hogs.
Mm-hmm.
Very rocky. It had a creek that ran through it and a pond, but it was very rocky. On the other side of the driveway would have been the pasture where they kept the cows and everything.
Okay.
But off of the circle driveway, there was a part on the furthest driveway that went up beside the house by the fence where all the honeysuckle was growing in it, where you couldn't even see to the hog pasture from the house. And then you had past that was the gate to access the hog pasture and all. So he pulled up into there. He got out. They went into the house. So whenever they go into the house, they're sitting in there. They start hearing what Granny described as a what an old time coffee pot sound like percolating. That was what the breathing of this creature sound like a gurgle breathing, heavy. This now you got to remember this is the first time anything had happened. It starts scratching on the house. They're hearing like this percolating sound, uh, scratches on the windows, and the weird thing is it actually tries the doorknob. So whatever it was had the intelligence to try the doorknob. Well, if you think about it from a forensic point of view, from an investigator's point of view, to turn a doorknob, you have to have an opposable thumb pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
So, but of course, then we didn't think about that. So it tried the doorknob. It pretty much messed around the house all night. Next morning comes. My uncle gets up, goes out to the vehicle, to go to work, whatever. And the vehicle is covered in fish scales. And the vehicle stinks terribly bad. So he took the car to town and he had to wash and wash and wash and wash and wash this car to try to get the smell off of it. And we always thought and we theorized that it probably put that scent on the car to be able to find where they went. Um, I don't know if that's why it done it. I don't know if it followed the scent, if it hitchhiked, which I don't think it did because they said they seen it run off into the woods. So how it ended up from point A to point B, not real sure.
Okay.
No questions.
No.
I mean that's the best I know. I mean we really didn't know how it was able to do that. Glenda keeps blowing up the same thing. Something about Hunter tonight, I guess. There's a video out called "This Is What Happened to Us." Go check it out. Should answer all your questions. We don't know exactly how it got there, why it came there. Um, you would presumably think that it had an interest in my uncle or his girlfriend. That would have
See,
been my thought.
and I was just wondering if this was something that had happened after he had come back from Vietnam, and maybe something had happened while he was in Vietnam that opened him up to be susceptible for this attachment, and that was kind of where I was questioning it.
No, he never mentioned seeing anything in Vietnam. Really, he did talk about rock apes, but not a whole lot about them. But he did say they were there.
So if he had already been tagged by some type of creature while he was there, he would have been more susceptible to have encounters back home.
I know, I know that my uncle knows more about what's down there than anybody else. Uh, I had conversations with him a lot uh, about these things, and he would always, talk to us about it. Me and my cousin were especially interested, and mainly one of the things he would always tell us. We were young, 12, 13 at that time, and we were wanting to hunt it, and he was very, very adamant about us not doing that. He would tell us like, "You boys are going to get out there and you're going to find something you don't want to find." And we
Hmm.
would say like, "What is it?" And he would say, "You don't want to know. Just leave it alone." Uh, there was times we would have to call him whenever it would get really bad down there, and he would come down with his gun and he would shoot sometimes. I mean, we would hear him shoot, and he would come in the house and he would say, "Okay, y'all should be good the rest of the night." Rest of the night was fine, but the next night, like clockwork, it was back. Um, I know that on some fishing excursions we were on, he seen some things that we didn't see, and we would have to leave early sometimes, or sometimes we would have to sleep in the lake all night because it was not safe to come up through the creeks to the vehicles to load the boats. Sometimes it was fine. Um, my uncle at the time was a Navy SEAL. My other uncle, the one I'm talking about now, he was a an Army Ranger, very capable of taking care of issues. And we went to a location that I've only been to once with y'all. You remember the night I got stuck, right? Uh, was you there then?
Uh,
where I got
Maybe.
where I got stuck in the ditch?
No, I didn't see that one.
Okay, that was the first time I'd been there since I was like probably 16 when my uncle and my dad and my other uncle at the time would take us down there camping. And I remember it plain as day. We were down there. He was driving a red Ford truck. My dad was driving my blue truck. We had our boats and everything down there. We got camp set up. We had a fire going. Uh, it was a pretty relaxed atmosphere. I was excited. We were going to do a lot of fishing, and nighttime had came, and we of course had ate our dinner before dark. Got rid of the scraps. We went and buried them out in the woods. That was the thing that you would do.
Hmm.
And after we got done, we had came up there, and my dad was up. My dad was a big guy too, and I remember we was sitting there, and my uncle, we'll call it my oldest uncle, the one that it followed home from Vietnam, my oldest uncle. He started acting like he saw something, or he got uncomfortable, and I was by the fire, but I was young, so I was kind of like running around, looking at things, moving around, looking at the water, walking around, and I remember him telling me, "You need to go up there by the fire and stay." It wasn't mean, but I knew that he was serious. And
Yeah.
I went up there, and when I got up there, I remember him getting the gun out. And when he got the gun out, my other uncle got his gun out, and then my dad had his gun. And I was by the fire, and my uncle, that was the the Navy SEAL, he said, "I'm going to go check something out," and he just takes off into the darkness, no light or nothing, and he's gone. So we're sitting there for a little bit, and finally my other uncle comes back, And he starts whispering to my oldest uncle, and he's like, "There's more than one out there, and they're watching us." He said, "I was watching them." And I could hear my uncle say, "Did they see you?" And he said, "No, they didn't know I was there." So then they're like, "Should we stay? Should we stay the night?" Well, we decided to go fishing that night anyway. So we took the boats out, and we thought because we was going to be out in the middle of the lake, we wasn't really going to have to deal with that stuff, right? So we're out in the middle of the lake, and to go out into the lake, you have to go down this little creek, and then it opens up into the lake. So we're out there fishing. It's late at night, probably 3 or 4 in the morning. We'd been catching fish all night, and we was coming back in, and you have to picture this is an old aluminum V-bottom boat.
Mm-hmm.
My dad's driving. It's an old Kingfisher.
Lost you. It's an old what?
There we go. My dad was driving an old Kingfisher flat bottom boat.
Okay.
Just old boats. We didn't have proper lighting on them. We would hold spotlights in our hands and dodge the stumps. And sometimes we'd hit stumps and go up over them and slide down them. We were going back, and my uncle all of a sudden turned the boat around, and we ended up going back out into the lake. And he said it wasn't safe for us to go back. So we ended up staying the night in the lake in our boats. So I always said that they knew more than what we knew about them. Uh, I don't know if it was just because of their training and their ability to move in the dark differently than what we could. Because, I mean, they could move in the woods and you couldn't even hear them. I mean, I don't know. We always, but it was a subject he didn't like to talk about.
Well, no doubt.
But it wasn't.
Phrase.
I don't really like to talk about. Now, Granny,
You're
I
freezing
think
up.
you might be froze. Come on, internet. There we go. He didn't like talking about it. Now, Granny, on the other hand, she'd sit up all night with us and talk to us about it. She would tell us all the stories, all the things that had happened. And, we got looks like a question here. So Granny was always the one that would stay up all night with us and tell us the stories. And we was always like, Granny, what did it look like? And of course, she would tell us the best she could, or what she had heard or what she had seen.
Mm-hmm.
Romans, what do you want to know? Romans, that's a good question. I know that both sides of my family have had cryptid issues. Uh, my mom's side didn't have it until her brother had went down there and had that encounter. Now, my dad's side of the family, they lived in the old town that we go down and explore around. I'm going to say around 1905, something like that, I think, is when they were down there. And they did have cryptid issues. My great grandma and my grandpa did. So both sides of the family.
Randy was asking something earlier too about the video. Do you know the name of the video
Which one?
where you got stuck in the ditch?
Oh gosh, no, I don't.
That's your
I
homework, Randy.
Yeah, I've noticed the chat's not scrolling tonight, and I've had a lot of people telling me that YouTube is kicking them out a lot. They have to come back in.
Mm.
It's probably because we're talking about the truth, and it seems like that happens a lot. Sorry about that, but just keep fighting it. Yeah, Granny's house was never boring. Um, there was a lot of things. You asked me. I think you asked me today about my gun that went missing, my little play gun,
Mm-hmm.
and how I found that. That was
Yeah. Yeah, because that's been a pretty big topic lately of people losing things and finding them in strange places that they didn't leave them.
This was just I believe it was a cap gun. It was a metal. It was like a metal one. That was like one of the expensive ones. It was my favorite toy. The magazine came out of it. I would always play outside. Cowboys or whatever, detectives or cops and robbers, whatever, with my cousins. 'Cause we had a bunch of cousins. There was 8 kids. So, or my mom's mom had 8 kids. So there was a bunch of us, and I would always leave that gun on top of Grandpa's tiller most of the time, and then I would get it the next day. Well, it just came up missing. I thought, one of the kids had took it, or and things had ramped up. And things had ramped up. And one day, me and my cousin, we decided we was going to sneak away from the yard and try to be like the older cousins and go deep out into the woods and, play around.
Mm-hmm.
And we found a small building, and we went up to the small building, opened it up, and there was a bunch of different things in there. Uh, there was like baby dolls, there was toy trucks, there was GI Joe men, there was hammers, there was tools, there was just odds and ends, just like a bunch of stuff. When you went in this old door, it had a latch. It was made out of wood that spun like this, and you spin it down, and you could open the old door that was made by boards running up and down.
Mm-hmm.
So when I went in, on the right hand side there was a shelf. I was young then, so I would say the shelf was probably 4 foot off the ground, something like that. And on that shelf was one of those old time things where you'd pour water in it, to wash your hands in the old days. Had the thing you pour the water in. I don't know what you call them. My mom's got one up there on the stand. And there was a gun laying inside of that, on the rim of it, inside the rim. And when I pulled it out, it was my gun.
So, yeah.
Well, whenever that happened, thank you, Walter, for that. God bless you. That means a lot to us. It really does. So whenever that happened, we heard something outside. And whenever we went outside, now you have to remember we were young, probably, I don't know, 14, 15. And I remember there was a bunch of persimmon trees, if you all know what those are. There was a whole thicket of persimmon trees around this building. And I remember I looked over because I heard something. And between us and Granny's house is where I was looking, the way we had came, there was something moving in the trees, right? It was, it looked like somebody. I used to watch war movies all the time because my dad did. So I was
Mm-hmm.
really into like the old John Wayne movies, and uh, I can't think of his name right off, but Dad watched a lot of Army movies. And the first thing that I thought, it was a man in a ghillie suit. That was my first thought. I was like, there's a man in a ghillie suit, and he's coming back to his building. So I told my cousin. I was with two of my cousins. I was with my one of my cousins is a year younger than me, and then my other cousin, he was a lot younger at the time. He was probably, man, he might have been 10 or 11, and he was like the little tag along cousin. And I remember telling him there's something over there. And of course, back then we didn't joke about that stuff because we lived with it. So that was not a joke to us. We was always very serious about those kind of things. And
Mm-hmm.
we started going because we were afraid. So we started going away from it, right? We started going like further deeper into the woods because we was scared of what we was seeing and hearing. But then there was two more. And this is daytime. It's not nighttime at all. So we take off running, right? And while we're running, of course, we're running because we're scared. We hear it behind us whistling, like, like your mom would for you.
Mm-hmm.
And we're running and we're scared and we're crossing creeks and we're running through the briars and through the persimmon trees. There's a tons of persimmon trees down there. I mean, tons. And we were running through those. And then when you get so far, there's hills, really big hills. I wasn't alive back then, but I presume this is probably where the coal company had reclaimed and dug because these hills are really big and really steep. And we went up over these hills, and when we was going up the last hill, going to the top, my little cousin, we had to run slower because he was smaller. He started having an asthma attack, and he was asthmatic pretty bad, and he couldn't run no more. He said, I can't breathe, I can't run. And I picked him up on my back and kind of like camel carried him is what we called it, as far as I could, and then my other cousin would do it. And then finally, we were wearing out because we were going up over hills and the terrain. And I guess we got to the point to where, I don't know, we could look across, like we was up on this hill, then there's like a valley, and there's a hill that you just came off of.
Mm-hmm.
And we could look from the top of our hill and see the three, what we thought at the time, men moving on top of the other hill. Well, my cousin, he was having a really bad asthma attack, so my other cousin said, we're going to have to fight. So we weren't going to leave him. So we went and found some branches, and make some good clubs, and we hid. And we was going to wait for them to come up the hill because these hills are very steep.
Yeah.
So they would have to come up the same way we went up because there was like cattle trails. So any other way, we knew they would come up that way. So we was hiding behind these trees, waiting for them to come up. We was going to hit them and knock them down the hill. That's, that was our plan. Whatever it was, it went down to the bottom of that valley into the thick brush. We could hear it. It was moving. You could hear them walking, but they never came up. So he got calmed down and we started walking. And luckily, my uncle, he saved me so many times, said, if you ever get lost, follow the power lines. They'll take you to the highway. And whenever we was going through there, we found the power lines. And we followed the power lines. And the power lines took us to the highway. And whenever we got to the highway, thankfully, one of the ladies that lived in Alloway, she knew us. She pulled her truck over because she knew we wasn't supposed to be there. She knew our moms were strict. We wasn't supposed to be on the highway. So she picked us up in the back of her truck and she took us back to my granny's. Later on, having the conversation with my uncles and aunts and everybody, they determined that what we found down there probably was not men. We were probably being followed by whatever was coming to my granny's at night.
Mm-hmm.
And it followed us all that distance. So it's eerie to think back on it, to think that these scary things that were at my granny's were actually following us in their environment,
Yeah.
I mean, how close was we to go missing,
Yeah.
And, was they maybe wanting my little cousin because he was little?
Easy target. Just waiting for you to leave him behind.
They tried to take my little cousin. She was playing out in the backyard, and she was pretty young at the time. She was probably 10 or 11, and she started screaming bloody murder, and she come running in the front door. And they, what was wrong? She said something with a hairy arm and long fingernails reached his hand out of the tall grass of the field and was doing this at her, telling her to come here. And luckily, she ran to mom instead of going over to her.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the cases to where it almost turned out bad. I don't think that they. I don't. When you think back on it, I don't think they were there necessarily to hunt and kill you. But I do still believe that they're opportunistic And if they would have thought they could have got away with it, I don't have any doubt that they would have.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that they have an intelligence level to know that if you take a kid and it doesn't look like an accident or it doesn't look like they were lost, I think they're intelligent enough. They know they're going to be hunted. And I know that it seems to me that they don't like search parties because in a lot of these cases, if you'll notice, and I've studied a lot of these, whenever the children go missing, search and rescue sometimes can be hours to minutes away, depending on the town and depending on, the fire department, the resources and everything. But in a lot of the cases to where the children would go missing and they had a high resource to be on the scene fast and to assemble a search party, most of those children were located and found alone in awkward places, but alive and okay. And if you'll notice in other abductions, I call them abductions, where you don't have the resources, it takes a little bit of time to assemble a search party. Those children, their outcomes are usually more grim.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I think that, and one of my theories on that is, if a child is taken by one of these creatures, which I believe to be a fallen angel, which I believe are far more intelligent than what people give them credit for, that while it's running, and I'm talking about the ones in the flesh and blood, I'm talking about the Nephilim descendant, not the
Mm-hmm.
out of body. I'm talking about the actual animal itself, the corrupted DNA, the abomination. While it's running with this child, if a search party is right on its heels, they have families too. I believe they move in families, clans, whatever you want to call them. So they know that once that child is located, search and rescue's done. They call in
Mm-hmm.
everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But they also know that search and rescue doesn't stop until that child is found. So
Mm-hmm.
if they're able to assemble fast, I believe that that's when you're going to find your higher possibility of a child being left alive. And whenever they have more time to escape that perimeter, because most search and rescue will base a search and rescue on age, abilities, uh, things of that nature to determine how far they think that they can travel in a set amount of time, and they will set the perimeter. Well, a 5-year-old child goes missing. Most of the time, the perimeter is going to be 4 miles in.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have something that grabs that child that's able to move at, say, 30 to 40 miles an hour, and say it's 15 to 20 miles away,
Mm-hmm.
it already knows that there's not a chance of it being caught.
Right.
So they do what they do. And, you know, there's cases that puzzle me. Some are consumed partially, some people. We'll talk about one of those in just a second. And some are found in areas that were searched over and over and over their
Mm-hmm.
body. Um, I think the bodies that are found in the places that are searched over and over and over, I don't believe that they're missed. I believe they're placed there. And I believe the reason that they are placed there is you're making them uncomfortable to where you're searching. Because, there's a lot of unexplored area in the United States, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if we start searching and combing through their areas, the more apt we are to come across something. And it don't just necessarily have to be them, but a relic, um, evidence. So they're saying, hey, let's stop this. Let's put this kid back here because they're starting to go deeper than what we're comfortable with them being.
Well, that's even, I mean, not even just the children, but some of the adults that have gone missing to find their remnants of backpacks and clothing left in places that have already been searched too. It makes you wonder, I mean, months later.
Right. I'll be right back. I'll let you put you on the spot one more time.
Mm,
I'll be right back.
yay! keeps hearing something whistling. I don't know. Oh, that must be by you. Um, yeah, I think a lot of them, cat mom, I think a lot of them do move through the tunnel systems. Like here in Wisconsin, we have so many tunnel systems through the caves and such that are not necessarily accessible or easily accessible from all areas. You have to really search for them. But I don't think people even here in the state realize the tunnel systems that we have here, especially with like where I have been investigating along the Ice Age Trail. Um, the amount of woodlands and cave systems and trail systems there are extensive.
Yeah, Lisa Ann, be safe. Uh, Talking about tree or trails and cave systems and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
um, Brenda Hamilton, one of the cases that I'd looked into, she was found in a ditch with water up to her shoulders, partially consumed. She was still alive. One of the police officers felt that it was important to note that there was a new tree laying on the road. Working in that field and understanding report writing, he wouldn't have entered that into the report if he didn't feel it was important or pertinent to the case. There was something that stood out to him that he felt like it was important to add. What it was, we don't know. You're probably not going to know now, but there was a reason. One of
Mm-hmm.
my theories of many on that is, what if that nutri, and we know that there was a 911 call prior to her being attacked. People reported a bipedal creature. 911 operator said it was a misidentification. It was an animal. She should have never have done that. So I'm wondering if whatever attacked her came out of a tunnel or a cave system, because nutria are found in tunnels and cave systems. Very common
Mm-hmm.
for them to be in there. And was it attached to the creature when it attacked her, fell off of it, whatever? Or was the creature eating the nutria and she came upon the creature and she had the dogs with her and it thought they were a threat to take its food source and it defended its food? But they never tested the nutria for DNA to see if whatever that was had been eaten on that nutria. See, I think it should have been bagged and evidenced and DNA taken off of it, because I bet whatever attacked her, you'll find that DNA on that rat.
Yeah, that would have been my guess too. Anything that's out of the ordinary should have definitely been considered evidence, but
And especially if an officer felt that it was important enough to note it in his report.
right.
But if you notice, like you said, the mayor of that town was pushing for it. Everybody was pushing for it,
Mm-hmm.
and that rat's never mentioned.
Nope.
There's a reason that it's never mentioned, but one time there's a reason.
Mm-hmm.
No, Michelle, she passed away in the hospital, I believe, 3 days later. From my understanding, parts of her were missing. The actual report said that she was partially consumed while she was alive. So
Yeah.
pretty disturbing. Uh, I am working on something that I'll share with you all tonight. Also, we're working on a Girl Scout murders, maybe a second part coming out to that, where we speak more about the paranormal. Um, I've been back in touch with her, and what we may do on this one is we may actually go visit some of the actual sites. So that's something that's kind of going on behind the scenes. Uh, I know a lot of you all were really in depth into the Girl Scout murder case. A lot of you all were intrigued, and I'll admit it was a hard case to do because it was children. That's never something that you want to do. Um, I did not release a lot of what I found that I was able to find by connections that I have, and we're not going to. So don't even think that's going to be released because it won't be. Out of respect to the parents, I will not do that. Um, we're not going to gain anything by releasing that. It's not going to help the case. It's not going to solve the case. So to me, it's irrelevant what happened. We just have 3 girls that were deceased, and that's sad enough. And out of respect, I will not do that. There was a supernatural part of that case, and we are going to dive into that part. And it was actually documented by the FBI, the local sheriff's department, and if I remember right, the police department. So you have 3 agencies reported having supernatural things happen there. There was a certain amount of law enforcement officers retired right after that case. Some went missing, and some, I can't say the word, you get in trouble on YouTube, but some of them were their own demise.
Mm-hmm.
um, there was a lot of things I believe seen down there that they couldn't bear, they couldn't deal with. Um, there was a lot of Native Americans there, a lot of shaman, a lot of black magic was down there. The courthouse was smoked. I don't know if a lot of y'all know what smoked is, but it's tobacco to where they do a ceremony and they smoke it. A lot of that happened. So there was a lot of things really went on there that was just really, really bad. But there was a paranormal aspect to it. There was even a Googway mentioned been in the area. They believe that it might have took a man's life that was in his vehicle. Uh, Romans, be careful with that. And I understand that does get them moving. But yeah, we are going to dig more into that. Another place that I've been planning on visiting is a place where that little boy I told y'all he went missing, where his mom, let him go, and he never came back. I would like to take y'all over in that area and show you kind of how dense it is where that little boy was going, where he never came back. They never found him. They believe that he ran off with whatever he had made friends with in the woods. So I would like to go there, take you all down there. And then, of course, Randy asked a question tonight. Are the storms natural that's going on right now? Is what we're experiencing in the weather right now natural?
Be careful. I just had stuff taken off my Facebook page because of this.
Timothy, that's what I was talking about. I don't never say until I know. I'll say that I see something or I don't know what it is or there's something there. But as far as labeling seeing something, I'm not going to say unless I can 100% identify it. Um, I don't want to mislead anybody and say that I'm seeing something that it's not. And I actually had just said that earlier that I never say what I'm seeing because I don't know. And I don't want to give people the wrong impression or the wrong idea because unless you're up there shaking its hand, you really don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much really all I got tonight. Unless there's somebody that wants to come on and share an encounter, everybody's been pretty shy lately. If anybody would like to share an encounter before we take off, put in there I have an encounter to share in capital letters. But other than that, I don't have a lot more to say unless you have any questions that you want to ask Jesse or anything you're wondering.
I don't have any. No, I don't think I have anything else to
I
say.
think that's really about all I've got tonight. I'll give them just a few minutes to see if anybody wants to come on. Uh,
Okay. And what's your plan? You want to let everybody know what your plan is for next time you guys are going out?
On our next boots on the ground,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure where we're going to go. We're looking at a few places. It's going to depend on the flooding right now too that we're supposed to be getting.
Oh,
Um,
that's yeah.
yeah, we're supposed to be going out. What we go out Monday nights. I think is what we're doing Mondays. Uh,
Monday.
yeah, so probably not. We may not even be able to go out. I don't know yet because that's supposed to be
Mm-hmm.
right in the middle of the. It's still supposed to be raining Monday.
Okay.
So hopefully we'll be able to get out. If not, we'll still go live. We'll have something to talk about, I'm sure. Yeah, Randy, we have to be real careful on talking about that. Jesse got in some trouble, I guess, talking about manipulation a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah.
And this was data footage that I had put out that I got in trouble for. So got a
So
strike against me.
they don't want us talking about it. So we'll have to be careful we don't get a strike on us, you know.
Same thing they did with the whole Big C. Yeah. Well, they got in trouble for that too. Went to court for dealing with the censorship on that. So who knows? In a year or so, people will start seeing hearings about censorship from Facebook and YouTube on weather manipulation. Who knows?
Wind just now. There you are. We got a lot of wind just now. That's what I was looking at.
Oh,
Yeah, we had a big wind gust, and then I lost almost complete internet. But it doesn't look like anybody wants to come on anyway. So if there's anything you want to say before we jump off here, I'll give you the chance, and then I'll go ahead and we'll skedaddle.
well, I just want to say thanks everybody for joining us and coming in and listening to us and sharing your thoughts. And God bless.
Nick Z, yeah, I have had things follow me home. That does happen. We've heard things out in the field and stuff that screamed at me at night when I went outside and stuff. But it's just part of it. Sometimes they do. They will follow you home. Um, Raven says he doesn't know how you got in trouble for it when there's articles about it years ago. Sometimes they don't like for us to talk about certain things or to use certain words. We have to be careful. If not, then we get in trouble as creators. So we have to be real careful with that. Yes,
Especially
Cat.
when it comes to bringing up things that are, I mean, yeah, they might have talked about it years ago, but not a lot of people do research and look up things that happened years ago, and they're looking at what is now. So they're more than likely to censor us with information posting new than prior information.
Right. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate everybody showing up here tonight and supporting us. As again, we will be on Monday night. I don't know if it'll be a boots on the ground, depending on the weather, but I do plan on coming on talking to y'all. So we will have something to talk about. If nothing else, we will have the 28 stuff to bring on Monday night. We'll just switch it up a little bit. But we will see you all Monday night at we'll probably go 9 o'clock. I think is what we've talked about. So I think we'll go
Yes.
Monday night at 9 o'clock. So come and see us. Good night, everybody. Thank you for showing up. And remember, keep your head on a swivel. Don't be something's dinner. And we'll see you on the next one. Thank you for your support, guys.